And we're live. Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. I am John, represented by the awesome Purple Rock logo. You can call me Johnny Half-Ass, Johnny Last Minute, Johnny Rush nicknames, the provincial governor of procrastination, the Sid Bream of running out of steam. And I am joined tonight by Andy Agro, the regent of rants, the Idris Elba of Yelba. But I'm also joined by Emma Afterparty, the viceroy of the Vox Populi, the Dwayne Wade of Survivor Shade, and of course, I could not break up the dynamic duo. So we have Matt tonight, Matty Whiffs, the city manager of Choketown, the RuPaul of the predictions downfall. I got the whole squad in there. You guys should feel honored that I spent 17 seconds of effort to give you guys nicknames.
That was good. I got a couple things. I think Sid Bream is actually the Sid Bream of running out of steam.
I had that thought as I was writing it. I'm like,
although no, he did beat out Barry Bonds' throw, so I actually shouldn't give him too much shade.
Sid Bream made me lose it, man. That was a good one. That was
a
props to us. I was gonna say.
This is like a movie reference from John. It has to be from like 20 years ago or something. And all of us were like, hey, that's a nice one. The other thing we should probably point out is obviously John is not on camera. And I think the reason for that is obvious. Every time he is, y'all get weird. So we decided we just couldn't put that in. But we figured we would do this on video tonight because I think it could be easier to see who's talking, maybe for us, if not for anybody else. And probably not. But maybe I will interrupt people less because I will see their lips moving.
Well, and if you don't know who's talking, you can just always assume it's Andy.
Well, I feel like I'm the one distinctive one. I mean, maybe Emma too, but you know.
I feel like there is something about my voice that stands out from your guys's, but I don't know.
I feel like I do a great Emma impression.
I feel like I sound like every single one of you. So yeah,
and Mark too.
Right.
And yes, we did not invite Mark and Brad for this discussion because it will be impossible and unruly with the four of us. And also, yeah, right. Come on.
It's already clusterfucky enough. Let's not clusterfuck this further.
The last time we had all four of us is because you motherfuckers fucked me over.
Greatest podcast ever. Greatest moment in Purple Rock history.
Yes. But no, this time, everything's above board, and obviously we're working blue. That's the season that it is.
You already broke never given me permission.
Yeah, I think we've broken 3 seasons worth of records just in the opening. How about we get to start talking about the finale of this show that this show is about?
Oh, right, that show that we all watched, Survivor, which finally rebounded from. I can't really call it the nadir because we've been there before, but this was definitely a valley, and this pulled us out of that valley. But
it's either this season or the fact that we started swearing on the podcast. It's hard to really judge. It's one or the other.
I don't know if you know this, but it can be 2 things.
Very much can. You were going to transition to an actual question, though, I think.
I mean, well, why not? Since we saw the last episode of the season, let's talk about how you thought that stuck the landing. Did it work for you, Emma?
It was fine. I don't think it was as good as the rest of the season. That is often the case for finales, though, with exceptions. I think like Ghost Island and Cambodia come to mind of having like very kind of crazy finales. But I think almost all of us predicted like exactly the order, or not. Okay,
except
I guess
for the winner.
No,
Except Matt did not.
The winner. But even then, I feel like a lot of us were just kind of like.
I think all of us were just kind of like, yes. Yeah. I think none of us were truly that confident in our winner pick. We were trying to will it into existence, or at the very least, for me, avoid 2 days of people being like, how dare you predict Nick? You must hate everything.
Right. Well, I was extremely confident in second and third place. And
yes.
That was about the only thing I was confident in heading into that finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fairly confident in sixth place as well, and that's part of I think why Emma's right. The finale was fine. It was fine. It would have been more interesting if Davey had lasted longer, both because he was most definitely the most enjoyable player for non-ironic reasons, and also because him surviving would change things up. And as she says, it's not unusual for finales to be a little underwhelming for the simple fact that as you get further along in the game, less options are available. And they've changed that by putting many different people into a finale, but often that's just let's finish off getting rid of the threats. These people are untouchable because why would you ever vote them out? And now here we are.
The thing about the finale is I think there was some things that I needed from the finale, and there were some things that I would have liked to happen in the finale. I didn't get the things that I would have liked to have happened, which was like Davey winning. But what I needed to happen in the finale was as much Angelina as possible.
Hell yeah.
And boy, did they deliver.
We got some beautiful, beautiful Angelina moments in this finale. And you know what? Because I got that, I'm pretty happy with this finale.
Yeah, no, it was peak. It's really hard to judge what the best Angelina we got all season, but I feel like it was a microcosm.
No, the fake idol has to be the best Angelina because the entire discussion there where it's so why?
Begging for a jacket, though?
The important thing is, you can debate whether this episode stuck the landing for the season, but you cannot debate that this definitely stuck the landing for the end of the Angelina arc. It was fantastic in every way on that particular front.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
And a lot of people were sort of like, oh, I hope Angelina wins because that's would be so crazy and stuff. But I'm like, but the thing is, that kind of character, to be consistent and to work, they need to not be successful.
Exactly.
No,
it
would
have been funny. It just narratively would not have worked to see her win after seeing what we saw from her the rest of the season.
Yeah, and we got in this episode a glimpse, and again, I think that's why this episode was almost like a great summation of Angelina, of what happens when Angelina gets just the slightest tinge of power, right? She's awful, is what happens. So her winning, no, that would be terrible. So yeah, she gets an idol that, okay, good. Yeah, it's nice to do. It's something.
She almost died for that idol, Andy.
That's right. It was the most difficult idol find of all time. I can't believe they put it literally in the heavens. But also, it did require two people to be like, yeah, it's actually over here. There it is. That's where you need to go get it. But she gets that, and it's like, yeah, okay, cool. You already have blanket immunity by virtue of being you, but sure, you have it. And
you have the greatest immunity idol of all, your personality.
The way she wanted to use the immunity idol was to have people vote for her just so she could use it.
Just so that she gets credit for playing it correctly.
Okay.
Which she wouldn't anyway, because there's only going to be two people voting for her.
Listen, let's just fuck the rundown, because I have to jump into that. That was possibly my favorite part of the whole episode, because the whole conversation should have been, all right, so guys, there's three of us, there's two of them, we're voting Allison out, right? Ready, break. That was it. That was the whole fucking conversation.
That's the only conversation Mike White wanted to have. It's can we get fucking cake?
And so then Angelina's like, no, hang on, I got the plan. And they're like, no, we just had the plan. Three of us, two of them, we're done. And so we know where the idol is. That's it. That's the plan. She's like, okay, but how about this? They vote for me. I play the idol. Okay, but there's still fucking two of them.
I'm surprised she didn't also ask Mike to vote for her, just so that she gets the full credit of playing an idol.
Which, can I just for a second because she wanted Mike to vote for her so that she actually would play the idol correctly, because that was a dream of hers. But first of all, why would Mike agree to that? Second of all, if he did, and you try to use that idol play at tribal council, and Mike if he's on the jury or if he's in the final three, you really think he's not going to be like, by the way, she asked me to vote for her explicitly so she could use the idol correctly. She was never in danger of going home. Like,
yes, she really thinks that. Yes, she really doesn't think that like her schemes in the world will be easily blown up by everybody, A, seeing completely through them, and B, just talking. She didn't think that like having Natalie like bully people for coats would ever come back on her, nor did she think that like, yeah, I've come up with this fake idol plan for the sole purpose of being mean to Allison. Nobody will ever find that out. How could they possibly? I'm just telling two people that I'll be competing against.
yeah.
And I love their disbelief at this because she's telling them why she's doing this. And the reason, again, is because she just wants to mess with Allison.
That wasn't it. That was all she said. This is basically for my resume. Like, I want the jury to think I'm cooler.
This is for the jury. I don't have anything for what was the outplay portion or however the hell they divide that up, because it's not the way I would have divided it up, but
Yeah,
Can
I'm
you
not sure
imagine
why
being in a final five? You're in a final five and you're saying to everybody else, like, I know there's only 5 of us left and we're planning to go to the end together, but can you do something that will help make me look better, the person you'll be competing against? You guys, are you down for this plan for me? Great. Let's do it.
And both Nick and Mike are struggling with it, and maybe part of also is because Mike is struggling to form all thoughts. But it's just like, there's got to be another reason. Like, you can't just be, is this just for the jury?
He specifically asked her, so this is for the jury? She's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And that it just fits right in with her character, that she has no perception of why wouldn't somebody want to do something that would help me at the expense of them. This just doesn't compute. That's what life is. People will constantly do things to help me at the expense of themselves because me.
It was beautiful. We were so fortunate to have her on this season. Like, she was easily the breakout star to me. I mean, obviously Christian was great. Everybody loved Christian, but to me, like, Angelina was on a level that I don't think we've seen in a long time from a Survivor character. And just, I feel like it won't happen when they bring her back, because they will bring her back now. She's going to try so hard not to be the same person. And I don't think she can do it, but I think that she can do enough of it that she won't be as fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Abby Maria was going to try to play nice.
I mean, it's not about trying to play nice. I think it's just that.
Well, yes, it's just in the specific example of Abby Maria, that was the thing she needed to change, was to be nice to people. For Angelina, it's a different issue. I'm just saying it didn't work.
Yeah, and admittedly, it's not an issue that's easy to fix. So it's possible we could get this same sort of experience again. But I feel like it will never quite equal this initial experience.
So you think that if they bring Angelina back, she is not going to bring up the fact that she negotiated rice for her tribe in her other season?
I mean,
because she's going to bring that up.
She'll find some other avenue with which she can tout her accomplishments. I mean, it could be the most minor of accomplishments. It won't matter. And that'll be fun. I just think that she'll be a little more careful as to how much she brags about her selflessness.
We just lost Andy.
Well, that's not great.
Well, we'll invite him and he'll come back.
The worst person to lose, because who's going to vamp?
I was trying to bring him back and I don't know how. So
he has the link, so he should be able to.
Good luck, Andy. Anyway, let's talk some more about this episode. We should actually go back to talking about the episode in order. I could talk about Angelina for like 5 hours, but we should instead talk about the other thing that happened in this episode. Andy was going to talk about fake idols too. We're just going to have to skip right over that part. I'm sure it's the same take we've heard 1,000 times.
No. I can definitely pull an Andy, impersonate him on fake idols. I have no idea what he's going to say, but we can play a little game. I can try it. Never mind. Is he back, or is that what's going on here?
Also the same account?
Is he trying to log in as me?
I don't know what's happening here. This is very confusing.
This is great
This is great podcast. This is
It
great
is
podcast.
riveting. So anyway, here
I'm
I'll
so proud
sum
to
up.
be a part of this team.
That's right. I will sum up Andy's argument for you. How about them fake idols, though?
How about them fake idols, though?
All right, let's move on because I'm sure Andy will want to discuss the fake idols thing.
Yeah, we're not that.
Well, actually, while we're on Angelina, let's just talk about this right now. And I guess since Emily's here, it's best to ask. What do you guys make of the whole like Angelina feminist hero thing?
It's so weird because it's like, okay, so the things she is saying, good, valid, makes sense. It being about her, like as it relates to how people are viewing her, like less so. Because the problem is like Angelina everyone's like acting like, oh, she's even Probst said like, oh, you played really aggressively, and it's like that is not the issue people had. It was not her playing aggressively. It was like every part of her personality and the way she talked to people. And like, yeah, like it's like Survivor is a social game. Like the same reason, Russell can never win. Like obviously I would still say those two played very different games, but like, I think, and maybe it's naive of me to say this, but I feel like if there was a guy who behaved exactly the same way as Angelina, obviously I guess without the like women need to find idols thing, because that would be weird. I feel like the fan response would be like less kind of anything. I don't think there would be people like, oh yes, this guy is playing such a good game, how he won't shut up about how he got the rice, and like how he won't do that. Like we all loved watching Chris Noble, but Chris Noble was never going to be a good winner or a good player.
So that was the thing I was just going to get to is like, if you're looking for a relatively recent comp, and they're obviously not on the same level, it would be Chris Noble.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think he got roughly the same reaction, which is that everybody enjoyed watching Chris Noble. Nobody thought Chris Noble had a shot at winning.
And if Chris Noble like couldn't perform in challenges, he probably would have lasted a lot longer. But Chris Noble was very good at challenges, and so it made sense to target him right away. Angelina, as we saw, did not do very well in challenges, and no one was going to vote for her, so, why bother?
I mean, yeah, and we saw what happened when Chris Noble tried to work at his social game that kind of blew up in his face.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, let's have all like 11 of you come to the water well.
Let's all unanimously discuss our plan. I'm sure there will be no dissenters in this group.
And I believe every single person he took voted with him, right? That's what happened.
I mean, Chris Noble, he's a hurricane of personality and charisma, and no one can resist him.
Check the record.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the thing is with Angelina, she did make very valid points. I mean, she brought up stuff that's been mentioned with very good reason about Survivor for a long time. Like there are certain things that women tend to not do as often as men, such as find idols or whatever. She talked about in this particular episode, Gabby talked about the portrayal of women on the show as quote unquote bossy if they're assertive in any way. And I mean, freaking the Survivor CBS Twitter account called Angelina bossy during this season. Like it's not some construct that they're making up. It's a real thing that's happening. So she brings up real valid issues. It's just interesting to watch her be the feminist icon. She's definitely a feminist. I enjoy watching her both ironically and unironically. And this is the unironic part. Like she does have some very valid points.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many things in life with which I agree with Angelina on, but her gameplay is not one of them.
I mean, and the thing is, I also kind of think that, especially with Gabby and her comments, I think Gabby was using this opportunity to put forth into the world and into the viewer's consciousness and frankly into the editor's consciousness that the way that women are depicted and treated is not fair. And she had to do that with some woman at the end. It just happened to be that Angelina was the only one there. So she had to, project that onto Angelina. But Gabby didn't vote for Angelina because guess what? Angelina was not good at this game.
And Gabby even admitted in Exit Press that the agony she was experiencing there over who to vote for was not between Angelina and Nick. It was between Mike and Nick. Yeah. So she wasn't even her second choice.
Yeah. So
I think.
Yeah. No, go.
I was just gonna say, you basically said it, but I was gonna say I pretty much feel sort of the way that Gabby did during this, in that these are real issues that you have and maybe have faced, and good job, but you didn't play the even close to the best game, so not gonna vote for you.
Right.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Nick, who actually won the season. Before we start, I think we should at least mildly, half-assedly addressed in the true Purple Rock fashion. There were some rumors about some stuff Nick said previously before the game. I don't know. I've never actually seen any evidence of it, only seen discussion of it online. So I don't think you all have seen it either, right?
No, it's supposedly tweets. I heard about it pretty early in the season, but I haven't seen them.
Right.
I remember hearing stuff back when the cast was leaked before it was even announced, but no one, I guess it was all wiped or something. No one's ever actually produced anything. So, it's people who seemed to have talked to him before, but we don't actually know what it was, and therefore can't really can't judge properly because we don't actually have that information.
Right. So for those of you that were hoping for an epic takedown of Nick the human being, sorry, we don't have any sort of evidence. We'd just be blindly making assumptions about him. Instead, we're going to talk about his game, which is what we did get to see, and we saw all season long. So, Matt, what'd you think? How good of a game did Nick play?
I think Nick actually played a pretty decent game in terms of his gameplay. I think he's right when he was talking to the jury about peaking with the John vote, and I think that kind of hurt him with the later jury members. And you can see that in the split. Nick got, all the jury members that went out before Christian, and then from Christian on, he only got Davey. The last four jury members, he only got one of them. And I think it's because early in the merge, when the Davids were, putting together their underdog alliance and they were overthrowing everything, Nick was the common denominator. Nick was the guy who was making it happen. And they saw that his bonds and his gameplay was what was doing it. And I'm going to stop talking because
look at Emma's face.
So I'm back. Darn socialist internet. No, I wish that I had government-run ISPs, but I brought a friend. Do you want to say hi, Christopher? Yeah. I mean, we're not really friends. You're more of a
casual acquaintance.
Dependent.
Christopher's my friend.
Yes, all your friends here. We've got Emma, we've got Matt, and we've got Logo. Say hi to Logo. Here. I'm going to give you the ears, and you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Hi.
So I know this season we've relaxed our censorship status, but if you, especially you, Emma, could keep it for a minute here.
I used to babysit. I know when to turn it off.
Well, I'd tell him earmuffs, but that'd be really difficult.
Christopher, what's next week? What is it? 4 sleeps? 5 sleeps?
Tim Hortons.
Is it Christmas coming up?
Yeah, Christmas.
Yeah.
Do you want to wish a lot of the people watching, but not everybody we're talking to, Merry Christmas? No? Yes? No?
And a happy Chinese food and movie.
Can you say Merry Christmas?
Merry Christmas.
There we go. All right,
Merry
you get the bag.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Night.
I'll teach him about Hanukkah next year, Matt.
No, I appreciate
already
that.
happened.
I really want you to teach him about Chinese food in a movie.
Well, we do go out for Chinese food on Christmas. That's a Sayers family. That's a family tradition. I just gave away my last name on the internet. Whatever. It's really on my other Twitter account.
You used to use your personal Twitter handle with the show all of the time. So
you've doxed yourself so many times.
Seriously, if somebody wants to look me up on LinkedIn and hire me, go ahead. Why not? Who doesn't want the yelly guy from a terrible podcast? Hey, where are we at?
Hey, 2 terrible podcasts, Andy. 2 terrible podcasts.
Where are we at?
Resume.
What are you guys talking about?
We're talking about Nick's game. I was just finishing up how I assess Nick as a game player, but I also want to briefly mention that I also assess people as characters, and on the scale of male winners as characters, from Adam to Tony, Nick is like bottom third on that scale.
Yeah. We've never enjoyed ranking winners because it's pointless. You don't compete against other historical figures. You compete against the people of your season. I'd say Nick's game is fine. It had its flaws, but I do think people will exaggerate. I think the 2 major flaws in it because they don't want to give Nick credit for one, and for 2, again, maybe compared to other people. But yeah, obviously the major ones is he did not see 2 blindsides happening. But I think the flip side of that is that neither blindside did anything to his game. And I think that's a credit to his game that he had the social connections and maybe, the ability to disguise his threat level or whatever, that even when people were blindsiding him, he was still able to work with them immediately afterwards.
Well, I do think the second blindside, the Davey one, could have impacted his game, but he just won immunity at the end there. So.
Yeah, it could have, but one of Mike's expressed reasons for doing it is I want Mike all to myself. Now, on the ice story, I want Nick all to myself. Now,
he probably has Mike to himself.
Sure. That's why you want to get off that island, so you can finally have that privacy, right? I don't know how much we can trust anything that Mike said in confessionals, because it seemed to be the kind of guy that would give the camera both things and like he choose, because he's like, I want Nick all to myself. Then the next thing is like, I got to get Nick out. And then obviously, he can't, but I'm not sure that he was going to. But yeah, not like Nick had good social connections. I do believe the 2 of the most creative eliminations of the season are most credited to him. And that would be John and Gabby. So yeah, he was solid.
Yeah, I think from a strategy perspective, he did pretty well. As you mentioned, those votes were pretty good, and I would give him at least most of the credit on those. And I think he clearly had connections that allowed them to save Christian early on and make the big moves. He clearly got to work with Mike and Angelina well enough that they kept him around, and he was seemingly part of their final 3, although I do have some reservations about whether that was actually going to take place if he hadn't been immune. But from an entertainment perspective, he was merely fine. He didn't do a lot for me watching him as a character. It's sort of the Sarah thing where it was like she played a great game. She was just not fun to watch playing that great game. Nick was not as bad as Sarah.
But also not as good as Sarah.
Exactly.
He did not play as good as
Sarah.
Yeah. And I would agree with that. The one thing I will say in Nick's favor is there was no one who was in on every vote. Nick was blindsided twice, but Mike was also blindsided a couple times. Angelina was blindsided a couple times. Every single person. A couple times. Yeah. Every single person in this cast that made it far enough was blindsided for 1 or 2 votes, which I think actually speaks well for the cast as a whole and for the season we watched, because there was no one who dominated to the extent that they knew everything that was happening.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of what I was getting at with with people who are already using like, oh, Nick didn't know 2 votes, and also the way he reacted to those 2 votes. It's like, but yeah, and again, if you're using that to compare him to Kim Spradlin or something, then sure, it's a knock. But compared to the people he was up against, that's kind of the season it was. And frankly, you can argue that at least one of those votes he should not have been able to see coming, because maybe it wasn't the best thing for the people involved in that vote, because while very satisfying, and frankly, the result I wanted while I was watching, eliminating Carl didn't work out too well for the people that flipped over to make it happen. Now, maybe it wouldn't have worked out for those two anyway. I'm not saying it's necessarily it caused that to happen, but he's like, why would you flip on us? So you're just handing the game over to the Goliath. Well, that kind of happened.
Although
for everybody but Nick, ironically.
Yes, well, if I can talk,
I've been gone for like 3 minutes. Why weren't you talking then?
I did, but we're on a different topic now, and I thought maybe they'd let the girl talk about more than the feminism.
Well, also what happened is Andy was off screen, so everybody else was just saying, "Hey, where's Andy?"
That tends to be what I've noticed about this season is, when Andy's not on, I want all the characters to be mentioning what is happening with Andy.
We should actually let Emily talk, though.
Yes, please do.
So, gosh, there's so many new things to say about Nick, but I will say first, because I think Matt may have been a little misinterpreted by Andy, that in ranking the winners, I believe he was talking about him as a character in terms of entertainment, not ranking his gameplay. It's just tricky because when your ranking is from Tony to Adam, those are
I guess, yeah.
No. Okay. Fabio played a worse game, than Adam did. So if I was ranking in terms of gameplay, Fabio would be on the bottom. Then Bob, Adam would be near the bottom. But in terms of character, entertainment,
I just wanted to clarify because I felt like that might have been missed, and also
it was
to
like
say
confusing, like Jeff at the reunion asking people about Natalie or possibly themselves. Continue, Emma.
This section of me talking is going really well.
It's going about the way it goes.
So I would say I would kind of agree with that. Like, I never found Nick super compelling, and I think one of a couple of reasons I wasn't necessarily rooting for him was because and this isn't fully his fault, but because it kind of seemed, both with Edric and just like normal people watching it, like it seemed like from about the merge, maybe even before that, people were talking about Nick as a winner. And the whole thing about this season was like how unpredictable and crazy it was. And then the guy who everyone thought was going to win early on won. And so that's kind of like yawn. But I will say, I think the John move is like one of the most brilliant things that's happened in like a while. I think that splitting the minority vote is like genuinely so smart.
Yep.
And it's kind of that thing where you're like, wow, why hasn't that happened before? But it's so smart. It made all the sense. The Gabby suggestion, as much as I hated to see her go, also splitting the vote in that way, also really smart. Although I do wonder if some of it was just like, revenge because blindside or whatever.
It can be two things.
This is true. And I do also think, he definitely stumbled a bit at the end, not just the blindsides, but like the whole fake idol thing and the bungling of that fake idol and then wasting his real idol. Like, none of that was a great look. And I think that's evidence, sort of as Matt was saying, that, why it was the early jurors primarily who voted for him and the later ones sort of didn't. Although I think some of that is also due to Mike's game really turning on later in the game too. So right. I think that's as much.
And also some of that has to do with the Goliaths being heavily.
Yeah, it's all the Goliath versus David's, voting and all of that. Because, sure enough, the later person voted out who did vote for Nick was Davey, even though Nick did not orchestrate that vote, Davey.
Yeah, Davey said that was bullshit.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I think, Nick, if we're just talking based on moves, which is a stupid thing to just talk about when we're judging winners, and but he had the signature move of the season. Yes. And I think, we were talking about this throughout the season, and, me especially, but I believe, people nodded and stuff, although they just do that, show that they know. So I think they're listening when they're not. But, there wasn't a great player this season. There just wasn't. And so, obviously some people had their preferences. And Davey if Davey would have won, maybe he would have been a greater player and it would have felt that way the whole way through. But, Kara would have just been okay, whatever. She would have been what you can do to win Survivor. But I don't feel like we were robbed of, an amazing player. I think Mike had some game and we'll get to that. But there wasn't an amazing player. So among this cast, at least Nick did something amazing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I want to talk about fake idols, even though
we skipped over that. We left it for you.
Yeah.
We're very nice.
Mostly because I've long since felt I've said everything there is to say, and then the show proves to be wrong frequently, and to the point where like I feel like I should not talk about them sometimes because you don't want to be the person who confuses having like a slightly divergent opinion on something with having a personality trait, and I've probably long since passed that when it comes to fake idols. But one thing that struck me while watching this, and how amazingly Angelina's plan was falling apart, but not only how it fell apart for her, but how it was seemingly falling apart for Mike, is maybe there's a disconnect in players' heads. And I was getting at this last week about the like when it's a fake idol, whether it's yours or you're involved in the plan, that it makes you forget about all of the threats and problems caused by real idols. And we saw that with Nick, in that the guy who knew to protect the knowledge of his real idol was just giving away the knowledge of his fake idol because in his mind it wasn't real. And maybe the same thing on Mike, because he never took stop to take to pause and ask himself, I am telling them that they can't vote for Angelina, that she will be immune, because all he's thinking about is her fake idol bullshit, and not remembering that part, B of that is that she has a real idol, and thus you kind of have to vote for me.
Yeah, that was when he was doing that. I was like, "Wow! If Mike gets himself voted out here, it would be well deserved because he's really screwing the pooch in this moment." It would have been so
funny.
It would have been really
hilarious.
I wanted it so badly.
I mean, and that would have been the ultimate end to the Angelina fake idol story. Getting her own ally voted out.
Getting like the one guy who, in theory, although he ended up doing pretty well, but like in theory, maybe she could have pulled votes from,
Yeah. Like at that point, she could have felt that way. Although, I mean, I'm sure she felt that she was pulling votes from everybody. And it's just like, maybe that's like, maybe the best argument of just like, don't mess around with this fake idol bullshit because it screws with your own brain or other people, alliance members' brains, because people just seem to forget that real idols carry with them threats to idol holders and allies of idol holders without the genuine protection of real idols.
Yep. And the one other thing I want to say about fake idols is that there's been some reports in the interviews about the scene of Allison finding the fake idol, and I really wish we had seen what was reported in some of those interviews, because it sounds amazing in just like the best, like everyone's fake acting type of way.
You get a glimpse of it because
because I was gonna say that too. Like I feel like even what we do show, it's very evident how everyone is just performing, but very best.
The best performance is professional actor Mike White, which is the screenshot for this episode for the our post of just
totally 1,000-yard staring Mike White.
We're really doing this. But for those who might not have read, Allison says that she saw Angelina put the idol in there, and then she had to find it. Then Angelina's like, "Oh, what? You found it, huh?" And then went off to do her I guess I'm going to get voted out now. And then went off to reflect, I'm sure, where people could see about the end of her Survivor days. And yes, the whole time Angelina was probably just like, this is it. This is it. The jury will love me. And if they fail to see this, I will tell them about it a few times.
I was going to say, it's sort of like, although with you know what I mean, with more bad acting, in Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, when like Chrissy was like, oh look, I found the idol, Ben. Too bad for you. And he's like, wow, what a bummer. This is so sad for me. Whatever shall I do?
Sigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the story from Allison's interview it roughly lines up with what we saw, which is that
it's just more in depth.
She was several feet away, basically watching Angelina put this fake idol in a very obvious spot in a fucking tree. Like, it wasn't hidden.
A tree that Allison says she had looked at so many times. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's right next to camp.
You're right. And it's just sitting on the tree. Like, no one would have fucking seen that. So anyway, you can see in the shot that we get in the episode, Angelina's like 7 feet away when Allison walks up and casually grabs it. And it's like, oh my God, you found it. Like, Angelina immediately turns around and is like, shut up.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Oh, and then yells over to Mike, Mike, she found it, which is my favorite part of what we saw in the episode.
She found what? You fucking, like, you instantly processed that, knew it was an immunity idol just because you saw her reach a hand up towards a tree? Nothing suspicious.
That Mike would understand what the it is.
We fully talked over each other there.
Yes. I feel like I talked the loudest. So
yeah, the fun part was that she said, "Oh, she found it," as though they'd like. You would say that only if you knew it was there for her to find.
Yes, and you'd previously discussed it with Mike so that he knows what it is. And yeah, Mike wasn't like, "What's it?" He was just like, because that's
he's like,
the proper reaction.
Definitely going to Final Three with you.
Yeah, Mike's entire affect, the entire final episode was. I was definitely feeling the wine drunk, lazy, just Mike White. Like, yeah, okay, I'll go. I'll go along with this plan. I'll go along with this plan. I'll go along with this plan. Whatever. I don't care. Let's just do this.
Yeah, I've challenged the entire finale because there was, of course, that one tribal council where
Allison, he gets mad at Allison. Yeah,
he takes a move at him, and that was just pure. You take a punch and then you just act a little different. He was being a little bitchy because he was scared.
Yeah, it's very, I said this on Twitter, but it's very similar, I feel like, to Tyson's, like, that's your seat over there at Blood versus Water. It had similar results. They both, like, admitted, at Final Tribal, like, were confronted by it, said, like, sorry, I felt scared, I felt attacked, lashed out, and then I think especially because Mike probably felt this whole time, no one's going to see me as a threat because of being rich, and maybe at Final Tribal I can convince them. Right. And then to have Allison say, like, you're a threat, he's like, they're not supposed to think that. Yeah,
why am I a threat? For the reasons.
Plus I've read that apparently, like, it sounds like he and Allison were very close as well. So I think, I think for both of them, having to kind of go against each other was hard for both of them. Apparently, I think Allison had said something that, even before Tribal, even at camp, he was like very upset that she was targeting him. So I think there was just a lot of emotions going on, but it was definitely not a good look from him.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Mike. If you don't want her to target you, maybe don't tell
her that Angelina's
idol.
Well, and it's like Angelina earlier in the season. Why are you doing this to me? I was trying to be nice to you, right? It's like, you only know this because I didn't want her to mess with you, so I told you what was happening. Just like with Angelina, it's like, I was trying to warn you, Elizabeth. So I think there's even extra. It's like, I was trying to help you, and now you're trying to get me? Which the correct response is like, well, yeah, it's Survivor. But yeah, guess what? People can be hypocrites in moments of being afraid or moments of passion. It's it happens.
Although back to the fun parts of Mike White, like, yeah, the whole thing with, like, I don't even drink, and Mike White with the wine is like the biggest mood of 2018.
Yeah.
Good luck. Ooh.
Yeah, particularly complaining about having to do work. That is a very vibe.
Really, he's really one of the Purple Rock team in that moment.
Yes. Yeah,
honestly, I was a little offended that you compared him to Tyson, though. That was just a real shot to the heart there. That's rough.
Tell me I'm wrong.
So it's a real stretch. I'm just saying, like, it's like saying I shot a basketball, LeBron James shoots a basketball, therefore I'm kind of like LeBron James.
No, if LeBron James talked about spreadsheets all the time, I'd be like, oh, that reminds me about when John talks about spreadsheets.
Well, that would be pretty similar because he's a legend of his field. I'm a legend of mine. So, yes, in that instance, it would make sense.
Oh, so there's no way Tyson is the LeBron James of Survivor. I'm sorry.
Well, let's find the right basketball analog.
If LeBron James repeated a story that someone had said like 10 seconds before, I'd be like, wow, LeBron really pulled a John there.
Let's not break
Posts
Slack
in the
code
wrong
here.
Slack channels, and then he's
Oh,
like,
I'm not talking about Slack, buddy.
Yeah, we're talking about the podcast that we're doing right now, John.
One thing I was thinking about while I was watching the finale in regards to Mike White is I wouldn't mind having Mike White's life. It's like he's been successful in his field. I mean, obviously, yeah, it sucks to have to do the Emoji Movie to pay off for your second mortgage or something like that. But yeah, his dream was to write. He's done that, and then he just gets to with his free time, just go on TV shows that he likes. He's been on The Amazing Race twice, and he got on Survivor and went all the way to the end and got votes. That's the way to be rich, I gotta say.
Yeah, he's. I agree, man. I agree.
He can go out in public, if he's at a coffee shop, everybody's like, "Oh my freaking god, is Ned Sheepley?" No, he's not that level of famous. He's just famous enough to be able to go on the contest that he wants. If he called up Jeopardy and said, "I want to be on Celebrity Jeopardy," they'd be like, "Yeah, sure, come on in." I mean,
actually, they stopped Celebrity Jeopardy.
You would know that, nerd. He is the perfect amount of famous because maybe every now and then he'll get approached, but it's probably kind of fun when it happens. And in LA, you not to be all I'm in LA, but you usually don't go up to someone like that unless it's if someone just likes them from School of Rock, they'd be like, oh cool, someone from School of Rock. But if someone's a really big fan of Chuck and Bob, then maybe they'd go up to him and to tell him oh, I like your lesser known thing, because then you feel cool and get cred.
Yeah, and there's nobody's coming up to him and it's like, "Man, I hate you. You really sucked in The Good Girl" or something. He's not that level of famous. If you just don't have an opinion about Mike White, unless that opinion, prior to this anyway, unless that opinion is, "I enjoy your movies." So that was a good level of fame. Frankly, I bet he gets people coming up to him more now because of Survivor. And it's like, screw you, Mike White, you voted out Christian. But yeah, before that, I was just struck. It's man, that's actually a good life, So that was one thing. Do we want to talk about his game?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of covered it to a degree.
Well, you and I did. There's two other people here.
No, the only two people that matter have already covered it.
Ouch. that hurts.
Matt's gonna cry.
Yeah, I'm just going to talk about it now.
It's not a movie.
For John. Fuck this guy who's all you don't matter, Matt. No, I want to talk about Mike White's game, which is to say, I agree with your take from the last episode. I think he's actually played a pretty good game.
Oh, that's the best possible take you can have.
Yeah, so fuck you for keeping me from saying that, man.
Hey, I would never want to keep anybody from agreeing with me.
No.
It wasn't me. I was throwing the ball out. He was the one that was trying to reject the alley-oop.
I think comboed that shit.
I think given the circumstances of his his background and everything, because especially weirdly, I think the Amazing Race thing is what made him recognizable to people almost more than School of Rock, unless they were in the right age range, which Nick was in that instance. But is that I think the fact that he got 3 votes is legit really impressive, considering who thought he was going to be able to pull any votes, and no one ever even seemed to bring it up. And at first I thought when Christian was like, "Wow, I really hope this changes the way the game is played," I was kind of targeting the other tribe and just doing that, which is a good strategy. But then I will give credit. I think we were talking about this on Know It Alls, Rob, was that they thought it was more I hope people are just considering the game and not outside factors. I think he was thinking he hopes Mike would win, and that would show it doesn't matter if you're rich, if you're this or you're that, they're voting for the game and not for the person to receive money. So that makes a little more sense.
Let's not try to explain away Christian. I think he was saying he just wants pagongings from here on out. That's what he's here for. He wants nothing but old school Borneo pagongings.
I think we have evidence that that's not true. But I would say my wife had an observation because Christian said that. It's Christian is probably somebody who has money. he is a professor, a robotics professor. I mean, I'm not saying, stinking rich or anything, but he probably has money. And I think that's probably true of the other two people who voted for Mike. Allison, the doctor from a doctor family. And then, I mean, Kara, we don't know, but I mean, what level of success she has as a real estate agent. But I know my real estate agent plays polo, like for real. Polo.
On horses?
Wow.
Yes. Like not just like wearing the I know. Well, I guess he has to go to like South America and stuff. And yeah, apparently there's a polo club in my city, which I mean, we have a lot of horses around here because we pretend to be cowboys, but legit polo.
I went on a hike in Malibu once and accidentally stumbled across a polo game.
Does she wear like jodhpurs and stuff like that?
Well, it's a dude.
Is it Rose from Get Out?
But yeah, so real estate agents can make a lot of money because they steal it from us.
And she is a real estate agent in San Diego, so
there you go. So yeah, that could be it. Like, but whereas people for whom money was a bigger issue, they did not vote Mike. Obviously, there are other explanations for their vote, but I wonder if we've actually turned a corner. Probably not. Everything I said about Mike's game last week was still true this week, other than, he got a little pissy at Allison that one time. But again, going back to Nick, there's not a single player in this season that did not make mistakes along the way. And frankly, Kim Spradlin aside, that's probably true of every single person who's ever played Survivor. It's just this season it felt more like that because we got a more balanced edit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's move on instead to, I assume, a future Pantene spokesmodel, Kara, who we haven't really talked about yet.
Except that her hair is better without product.
Oh my gosh, it fucking glowed. It was glowing.
It's so shiny.
This is the Kara hair appreciation thread. Any other talk of her game will be ignored because she has amazing hair.
So after it was on the podcast that, I am an appreciator of Kara and her, golden locks. And, also really should be noted her, just absolutely beguiling smile. My wife was like, because she listens to the show, the only person that knows any of us in real life who does so. It's like, she's not that pretty, because it was a scene where Kara had her hair in a ponytail or maybe the pigtails, and then later in the episode there's a confessional with her hair down. She's like, oh, I get it. So
yeah, I'm not into that whole blonde hair is like the end all be all, but it's so shiny.
It was seriously sparkling. It was like a freaking Little Mermaid scene or something out there.
She should give tips.
Look at this.
She should give tips to everyone about how she cares for it. I think
scrub it with sand and salt water apparently is the key. Although we've seen it look well in and Instagram as well. But maybe she's just going down to the beach in San Diego. It's like that's her new look.
Well, I'm sure she'll be hawking hair products on Instagram.
Yes, there we go.
Sponsored content.
Tea that makes you poop a lot and hair
Sponcon. Should we actually talk about her game?
Yeah, let's talk about how she actually played the game, because there were some people, even on this podcast, that suggested maybe she would be the winner of this season, despite having relatively low amounts of content about her for the rest of the season. I think she flew under the radar fairly well. She clearly seemed to have relationships with enough people that people were cool with telling her plans, occasionally getting her involved in those plans. Didn't dominate the game in any way, and was very open with that at the very end when she was discussing hey, don't vote me out. I don't really have a resume. You can say I rode on coattails. But at the same time, like I said, I think if you're looking for a strength from her, it was her ability to forge those social bonds. And I think she would have been a worthy winner. She just didn't make it.
Yeah, I mean, she would have been about as worthy as Nick, maybe a little, I would say less interesting, because, her move was survive and advance, which is legitimate. That's fine. It's not what interests me about Survivor, but, I don't believe all the players who go on Survivor's goal is to interest me. I will say, maybe not me specifically, but the viewer, it's absolutely some of their goals. But, the million spends the same, and she would have been fine. She would have been similar to other past winners. Yep. But at the same time, I'm not going to call her a robbed goddess, particularly because of what happened at Final Four. But I'll let you guys talk about her before we get into that.
I mean, I agree with you guys. It's her type of game is not the type of game I like to watch, which I think is the thing, because it's very under the radar. It's hard to portray well. It's hard to it's hard to really depict on TV. Someone who people just like in terms of how they influence the game. And I think we kind of showed that she's not steering a lot of votes. She's not doing that. If she got to the end, it was because she just kept surviving. To get to the end and kept putting other people in front of her as targets while she was, more of a threat than people realized. And there's nothing illegitimate in that at all. We've seen a lot of winners like that.
I would say, just to interrupt you quickly here, I think you can do that same strategy and do it in an interesting way. Sandra would be the example.
Yes, absolutely.
You can be entertaining while doing that strategy. She doesn't have that kind of dynamism.
It's just not her personality.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is going to possibly be controversial considering who's asking this. If Kara had won, is there really any difference between her game and, say, Michelle's game?
Fewer immunity wins would be one.
She would have gone to more tribal councils.
Yeah, I mean, that was my biggest knock on Michelle, besides just disliking her supporters, which that was the absolute biggest knock on Michelle for me.
Of course.
I was going to say that. Absolutely.
Primary motivation.
Yeah, and not just for me. Come on, that was all of us. Was that, by all indications, she would have gotten voted at any time pre-tribal council if she had gone. That obviously is not true of Kara. Obviously, I have proof. The scoreboard will tell me that. So that was a knock that, I think Kara was far more involved in the game throughout than Michelle was, where she was basically able to turn it on once it started to turn towards her. And then, yes, she won immunities, which I guess, whether you credit that or not, is always a thing. Sometimes it's they won immunities, especially when somebody we didn't expect to win immunities. Suddenly it's let's talk about immunities. So she won these immunities. Chrissy won immunities. Whereas, of course, if Nick wins immunities or if somebody else wins immunities, that's a knock on them. Well, if they didn't win immunities, they would have got to vote out. So obviously they suck as players. So you could decide which way that falls for Michelle.
I think another thing with Kara and Michelle, and in one hand, this is actually a good thing for Michelle, but on the other hand, it's sort of a knock in terms of the viewer enjoyment. But is that Kara would have presumably, I guess the way the game went, she would have been up. So it would have been against Nick, who obviously played a win-worthy game because he won, and Angelina. Whereas, I think the big thing was that Michelle beat Aubrey, and everybody thought Aubrey played such a good game and yada, yada. I think the other thing is just the jury composition they had, because Co Wrong had a lot of bitterness and anger, and Debbie was really mad at getting voted out, and Scott and Jason were Scott and Jason, and stuff like that. Whereas a
lot of the people we did not like on Co Wrong voted for Michelle, which
and kind of mirroring the internet on that one, by the way. Just the people who supported Michelle any part of the game were the people I did not want to support in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, there you go.
And but yeah, and this jury, maybe Dan would have been salty, but everyone was very chill. Everyone seemed super happy all the time. At every Ponderosa, there was never that moment that you get in a lot of seasons. Even Millennials versus Gen X had a little bit of this, where someone comes back and someone's a little hurt, a little mad, and they have to talk about it to get through the betrayal. I will say, Kara's Ponderosa, they never showed her with Dan outside of a group, so I don't know if there was tension there, because that's where it would be. Mm-hmm. But every single Ponderosa never had those weird moments. So I think this jury just was very supportive.
Well, you guys, I'm so glad that we brought up Michelle so that we can beat the deadest horse that exists in the Survivor universe.
We were talking about fake idols earlier.
Because it's a pretty social, she just played a social game, and that's what everyone said about Michelle. Although we never really saw people actually like Michelle the same way that it seemed like they liked Kara. So I think that's part of it too. At least I don't remember everyone always going to Michelle to tell her stuff.
No,
they couldn't read the Edgic out on the island.
But like Kara, like everybody from like every side was always going to Kara and talking about plans. And to his credit, that happened to Mike a lot as well.
That's true. No, that's a great point. That's very true.
Yeah, I think Kara's path to victory, and it's instructive, like, would have been her best comp, and why it did not happen would have been like Danny from Guatemala. And what Kara didn't do was win at the end. And that's why she didn't get a chance to win at the end. And that's where I think a lot of, there are people talking about how robbed she was at fire, and this was another strike against this awful fire making thing. And I got to say, this ain't the one, man. This isn't it. You know, you can talk about why you don't like fire making, and that's fine. I don't know if I mean, I don't care about, literally, I do not care about people sitting around making a fire.
Fire making because it was boring.
Yeah, but she would have gotten voted out for one, or most likely anyway. I guess we don't know 100% because people were talking like Mike might be a threat, but she would have gotten voted out.
She would have gotten voted
out. Right. Yeah. So the fire making didn't cost her. It gave her her only opportunity to make it to the end. If you are standing for Kara, you should have been like, at least she had a chance. Instead, people are like, wah. She got out of the game with no votes. Yeah, she was spared the 3 votes that would have happened. That would have happened too. I swear to God, I saw this take. It's like, it's just more proof that fire making works against social players. What the fuck do you think Mike White is? What do you think Nick is? This is the bullshit.
And what's the weird implication that if you're social, you don't know how to make fire?
Yeah.
You're too busy talking to people to ever learn how to make a fire. I don't know, but yeah, it's like social games exist in players even that you, Survivor viewer, may not like. It's impossible because what was Mike a super physical player? Yeah, okay, Mike White was a social player, and this happened last year too, where it's like, I guess this spells the death of the social game. A season in which a tie was basically decided where the player that people liked a bit more than the other guy. You can argue that you don't like fire making. You don't need to make shit up.
All right. So now that we've discussed the most invisible player of Co-Wrong, we should talk about the most invisible player of this season, Allison, she of little screen time. And I think the last person that we have to discuss from the finale.
No.
Was it?
No. It went out in 6th, John.
Sorry. I assumed we had talked about that at some point. It's been like 7 hours we've been talking, you guys. It's been so long.
Who would have thought that 4 people would make for a long podcast?
I know. Who would have thought?
I'm shocked.
Anyway, I'm sure there's not a whole lot to say about Allison other than, hey, they said that she was a threat to win, and then she didn't win, and no one was surprised. Anything to add to that?
Well, I mostly put this on the breakdown because my big eureka moment about Allison happened after you and I finished recording, and I wrote it in comments, but as we've mentioned, unbelievable to many people, we actually do have more listeners than the people who go to our website. It's
like a stunning amount.
Yes. I don't understand why, but it is true. Here's why. Everybody was, so confused about the disconnect of like Allison, threat, but the show isn't showing it. And my point, the thing that I came to, and I think that this episode only strengthened that, although that tends to be the way all arguments happen with me, is I have an opinion and then every future evidence just strengthens that opinion. It's the curse of being right all the time, is that she was not actually a threat and nobody really truly felt threatened by her. It's just, they talked about it at one point, maybe because she won the initial challenge, Emma's theory, because she's tall. And I think there actually is genuinely things to that, in that there was a voting phase where it was people who fit a certain physical profile were our targets. And once they were gone, Allison was the only other person who resembled that. But it was more, she was the people that people could talk about early in the episode. Oh yeah, we should get her Allison. She's the big threat. By the end of the episode, they weren't talking about that anymore. Every time they found a real legitimate threat up until this, to the point where she was not voted out until it was the last opportunity to do so. So how threatening could she be? Because she was never immune. She never had a power to really control a vote. I guess the one time, but that's because Gabby gave it to her. She never had an idol. So anytime they could have taken her out, and every time they rightly were actually threatened by somebody else. So no, it was just like, you can talk about Allison being a threat because there's no danger in it.
Well, I will say to that point, they apparently thought she was more threatening than one person. which is Kara.
Yeah, and I think that's credit to Kara, not credit to Allison.
Sure. I mean, I think there's reasons why they felt that she might be threatening, but I also agree that there are reasons why they kept finding someone else to be more threatening. And I think that's really your point.
Well, I think Mike definitely didn't think of her as a threat. He was the one we actually saw on screen last episode be like, we can beat her. was not worried about it. I do think, well, it's tricky. Nick at least seemed to, Angela, sorry, I almost said Allison and I tried to correct it. I still got it wrong. Angelina, I think, just didn't like her. Yeah. She was still upset about all the eye rolls and everything.
Maybe that's where it was coming from. Just Angelina's feud was just like, we got to vote out Allison because I hate her.
Yeah, and she becomes
I think that's it for Angelina.
Discussion.
Nick, I think... Well, Nick at least is the one who actually seemed to be like, she is a threat. I mean, when he was upset about Davy, he would say, like, she's going to win. Like, she'll win, Now, it's hard to say if he fully believed that or if it's just like, please, can we vote out a Goliath already? This is the one I feel like you're willing to vote out, and it's still not happening.
Yeah. And I also think she's a bit of a threat to Nick because he doesn't have a relationship with her. In fact, that uniquely, I think, to everybody there, maybe a bit with Kara too. I don't really get ever a sense if there was a Nick-Kara relationship beyond, the sort of relationship Kara probably had with everybody. To him, it's a bit of a threat because she's not, dedicated to taking me to the end.
Yeah.
And to your point, she's not she is a Goliath, and the one that you guys talk about voting out. But yeah, I don't think anybody was truly afraid of her, and especially near the end, they shouldn't have been. So if your worry is why isn't the show giving her the shine, showing her to be the threat that they're talking about, I think the show was showing her the threat level that she is, which is, we should vote out Allison. And then she does not a whole lot in a challenge. She doesn't have the numbers to really do anything against anybody. And then they're like, but what about, obviously Christian, but, even what about Gabby, though? What about Gabby, though? Gabby was far more threatening in that moment to the people who voted her than Allison ever was.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the final player in this episode that we haven't yet discussed that I totally forgot because it's been 4 hours of podcasting already. Davey, who was a freaking star and lit up the screen, and Probst acknowledged it, brought him out onto the live reunion stage, even as he was getting voted out in the episode. And Davey rocking the finest suit, looking so good, right? Come on, I'm right on
best
this front,
suit
right?
since Stephen Fishback.
Seconded, and we both witnessed the Fishback one.
We have always been on the same page in terms of.
It is the one bond that unites us.
The only thing, really.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing, the only opinion we share. Is Fishback looked really good in a plaid suit.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
After they brought out Davey at the finale, he was 6th, and then 5th place vote happens. I'm like, don't bring out Allison. Don't bring out Allison. And they didn't.
They did not. Oh, if I can really quick say something about Allison, though.
Yes.
Just that, because I thought of it and then I briefly forgot, and then you guys moved on and I was gone. Not to get all edgicky, but it's also I think a pretty common sort of fifth place thing is this person who all of a sudden they're like, oh, this person's such a threat. I feel like that was very much the Cowboy Rick thing, Sierra Dawn Thomas, right. It's a lot of times this quiet person who everyone kind of likes, but they don't pop on screen, and then they decide that person's dangerous, and then they quietly go home, and the finale has a lot going on, and so it's not bad to have one kind of condensed easy vote in it, and there you go.
But I guess Allison had gotten that for 4 weeks. Yeah.
You have an episode 3 weeks ago where she was a complex personality, and you saw a dolphin in the shot right before her.
Right, yeah, because dolphins, they jump out of the water, right, which shows the rise.
That's the key.
But then they come back into the water, which shows the fall.
Right.
Thank you for reminding me the difference between edgic and just reading the edit, because we all look at the edit.
One is just hokum and just people throwing ideas out there and just basically dirty casuals just watching a show. The other is a science. It's a science that never fails. It's a science that takes into account the exact intentions of the editors and also rumors that we learn about the show and opinions we have based on the way Probst coughed during the finale previous. And we're going to get to that. But before that, Davey.
Davey time.
Was Davey the best character on the season that's not Angelina?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the only other contender is Christian, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess John went out too early.
Yeah,
if he'd stuck around,
And I don't think John ever lived up to his promise. Yeah, I don't think John ever lived up to his
that's
promise.
true. John had potential more than realized potential.
Right. But I mean, it's not even John's fault because he clearly got the idled out edit, which is a real thing, except apparently not when it happens to Gabby. I mean, who was a big featured character of the show and got idled out, but that's not. I have to check the math on that one because
you need to
Davey
check.
was so fun. I really liked Davey.
Yeah, Davey was great, and I think this, what little we got of him, and more largely the live content we got of him. Man, so when they first brought everybody out, not everybody, obviously, not two people, but everybody but those two people they brought out. Davey, did you guys catch that he had tears in his eyes?
I did not. No,
I think it was referenced at least later on. It was.
Yeah, and as Propos talks, you should come on. Like Davey, he started watching when he was 8 years old, and then there's a bit of tears, and I'm like, this was my edgic. I'm like, I think he's about to watch himself leave the game. But that's also because I'd already predicted it to be so.
I was watching on kind of a blurry feed, so I didn't.
I was watching in between my dog barking and demanding playtime, so I can't pay attention to the screen.
How very Andy to merely look for evidence that reinforces his previously held beliefs.
It's the curse of always being right. It's that all evidence just reinforces it because it's true. No, I mean, I love Davey's moves. But more, his personality was pretty sparkling. And Emma, I think you pointed this out. He has a lovely tenor to his voice.
Yeah, I don't know, the way he talks is very sort of unique and it's kind of fun. But yeah, it's very distinctive. And he's a fun character. He was a fun player. I like to think that because since, he's like, oh, whoever voted for me, they'll get my vote. So you should make a big move. I liked, even though I think that was just like, hey guys, mix it up because that's more fun. Since afterwards she's like, I want to be on a good season, man.
Yeah.
All of this,
I think the thing about Davey, sorry to interrupt. But
no, you're good.
Okay. I think the thing about Davey, and I think this is really true, especially towards the end, but, to toot my own horn, I identified it, when the second episode, which is the thing I like about him was that he was enthusiastic. He liked being on Survivor. He liked doing what he was doing. And I think that's, what carried him. And that's, I think, why he was an engaging personality, because he was enthusiastic about what he was doing. He was having fun out there. He was enjoying everything new that was happening. He wanted to be on a good season. He liked Survivor. He liked the things he was doing, and he was able to communicate that, which is something that some people struggle with, but he did not.
Yeah, and that's so key to the enjoyment of the season. And I will say he was definitely not unique in that regard for this season. I think he was probably the best at it. But I think credit to many of the players this season. They were enthusiastic to be here in a season that wasn't easy. I mean, they were punished by two cyclones. We had one medical, we had one medical evacuation, one quit, and one person who had to climb 10,000 feet to get an idol. So
damn it! I was going for that joke. I was going to jump in and interrupt you. For
it was either that or starving from rice until a savior was born. I was going over both, and that's the one that it ended up being at.
Can I just say how disappointed I am that Angelina only brought up Weiss once?
There's no way there was only once. That's the only one that made the edit. That's actually one quick thing I want to mention is that when people are judging, how well somebody did in tribal council, and obviously there was a lot Mike didn't do what we think, and maybe he didn't do. He's admitted that he didn't do everything he was talking about, but I don't like to judge tribal council based on what somebody doesn't do, because we don't know what they didn't do. A lot of it is left on the cutting room floor, especially if that person is not the winner. I only like to judge based on what they do because that actually happened. And no, there's no way she didn't mention it more than once. When Davey finally took that deep breath in elation and rolled his eyes back, it's like, okay, enough. And then
That
he's
was
like,
amazing. I was
That was
so
so
glad. And it brings us back to Davey. I loved him being like, can I just say that a selfless act?
Davey breaking out the Merriam-Webster's dictionary
It was
definition.
so good.
Selfless.
I loved
sorry,
it.
Wikipedia defines selfless as. Oh no, it was perfect. It was perfect.
It
And,
was
you know,
so great.
it was what
And we
needed.
talked about his suit, but like his jury clothes were amazing too. And especially like when he walked out that first time, and you get this it's usually with the women, honestly, because they'll like, oh, they put on makeup and they did their hair and they have an outfit, and people will be like, ooh, looking good, girl, like, as you know, their allies or whatever are like, oh, you look so cute, I support you. But like, Davey walks out there and he first of all knew he looked good, and like Allison's like, ooh, like he was like, ooh, and Angelina said, damn. Nick was like, swag. Like they were all just like, oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, it's important to note this guy only had like 48 hours to put all that together. So, clearly he either was preparing for the next season and already, like, this is what I'm going to do, or, he's got a closet full of fits.
That's just how it, I don't know, man.
I think second outfit seemed like more like a romp him, but hey, if you can work it, I suppose.
He's like, when is the other situation?
Yes.
I can win this.
I want somebody to come out in like Mr. Basil's dad's, outfit that he wears to camp. But I only knew you'd get that. Everybody else,
it wasn't as tight as I was expecting it to be, but we won't get into that too much.
Another thing I love that Davey did in this finale was as he got voted out, and Nick's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know what was happening." He's like, "Of course you didn't, Nick."
Great line.
No, he was specifically saying that Nick didn't know how to spell his name. And then Nick's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know." And Davey's like, "Oh, of course you didn't." Like it was such a savage burn. Like I really thought that meant he was not going to vote for Nick at the end.
Oh, see, I didn't catch that it was about.
I definitely don't think that was it
No,
at all.
I don't think that's what it was about, John. I think you're completely wrong.
Yes. So listen, it gets voted out. I'm so glad. I'm gonna bring fucking receipts for this. So Davey gets voted out. The last vote that gets pulled is spelled Davey incorrectly. And he's like, "Oh, you could at least spell my name right." And then Nick's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know." And then he's like, "Of course you didn't."
No. But Nick said before that. Nick said,
"I didn't do it." It was.
Yes. No, I'm agreeing, Emily. Yes.
I agree with you.
Nick
had two things.
Didn't write his name down wrong because he never wrote his name
down.
Oh shit! I was gonna edit this part out of the podcast.
When you were talking about that, I was like, "Is this like a really bad joke that I don't get? Like, why are you talking about the spelling? That is not what happened."
But yeah, no, it was more like, "Of course you did." And for me, it was Davey saying, "I've been telling you this would happen as soon as we voted out Christian," and Nick was just like, "Nah, we still got to do it." So that's how I interpreted it. And again, I probably because I felt like that was never a good idea to be voting out Davids in the first place.
Right. I also saw it as just Davey doubting, Nick's, Davey thought Nick would backstab him is basically what I'm saying. And, Nick being like, I didn't know about this. I didn't do this. And Davey's like, come on, man. You know about this. Don't try to play that game with me.
But he didn't know about it.
I know, but
and then he gets his vote.
Yeah. So it's like, did he vote for him because of the loyalty or because he thought that he did backstab him?
The loyalty. It was that.
Yeah, it was definitely.
It was the loyalty. So Davey was great. I loved Davey a lot. I hope we see him in the future.
Okay, so I think that covers all the players that were on this episode. Now that we know the result of the season and that, Nick winning, what we saw, what does this season tell us about Jeff Probst's lack of promotion for the season? That he wasn't enthusiastic. It's clearly because a male David won. That's why he wasn't excited, right? That's what we can spend all the time and effort of the whole season of analyzing the level of enthusiasm that Jeff Probst has. It's because it got to this moment that the theme paid off, and and he hates it when people like Nick win, right?
You're so clearly not plugged in, because if you were, you would know that the reason he wasn't super hyped is because someone found like pot or something at Final 3, Final 4, and
He didn't know about that in the preseason. They only found out about that last week, man.
Well,
and they're going to come clean about it any day now.
But they were livid. They were going to make everyone re-vote at Final Tribal Council or at the live reunion. It was such a huge controversy that they decided to never mention it ever again and show any sort of evidence that it ever existed. But it definitely happened.
Definitely did. And this is reliable because it comes from someone who's a Big Brother fan.
Exactly.
Somebody you have never freaking heard of on Twitter broke this news and continues to break really important news, like they can get you on the lists that don't exist for after parties.
Right.
Did he get you on the list, Emily? Is that how it happened?
Yeah, I just always have all these Big Brother fans that I can reach out to get on the list of the place that was a block away from where my friend had his birthday dinner.
Now, I feel like we're making fun of a lot of things, but we really need to get back to making fun of the way that people are constantly trying to interpret the intentions of Jeff's promotions for seasons. And frankly, even less than making fun of it, I just want to mention that it's the most tiresome conversation in all of Survivor fandom.
Yes.
For one, because I'm not paying attention to the preseason, so I don't care what Jeff's level of excitement was. I can't even tell you if this season was remarkable in one way or another in regards to that. Two, it's always only brought up when it confirms people's opinions. So apparently the only seasons Jeff has ever been excited about were the ones that won by Mike and Ben. I don't know if that's true. 3, why haven't all of you learned to not believe a goddamn thing Jeff says about his show? He is not motivated to be honest about these things. His job is to get you to watch. He will say anything, and frankly, even if it's just talking about what happened, he gets it wrong all the time. It's just like interviews with Dalton. Come on, there's so many other things to put your passion to. Basing all of your predictions on trying to read the tea leaves of Jeff Probst's interviews, and it should be noted the interviews you see, because I saw interviews where Jeff was just like, I'm done playing that game. I never can guess what seasons people like or not. And to note, I think that's bullshit too. There's going to come a season where he's going to be like, this is one of our best ever, because he's a huckster.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but it's in his fucking financial interest. He's an executive producer of the show. He should probably tell us every season, oh man, you guys, this one for the history books. It's way up there. Definitely tune in. Like,
I mean, and basically that's what he does most of the time. Sometimes he's just super over the top, and sometimes he's like, yeah, this is a good season. You'll see stuff you've never seen before. Like that's the lowest he ever gets. Have you ever heard him say preseason? This season, it kind of sucks coming up. Yeah, you should watch.
I do pay attention to the preseason, and I haven't felt like I've noticed him be super hyped since Worlds Apart. So I honestly
it backfired so hard.
Yeah, exactly.
He's modulated it.
Yeah, what I would believe is that he has learned that lesson of what Andy was saying of reading interviews of oh, I can't predict what they have. So I think he has maybe learned to not be this is the best season ever, unless it's heroes versus villains, and you can be you would have to be able to be so confident after seeing calling a season the best season ever and having it be one that was almost universally hated.
Yeah. The one thing I always say about Worlds Apart is that was probably really fucking exciting for him, because a run like Mike Holloway's had never happened before, and it's important for everybody to remember Jeff is only there for 2 events in an episode. He's there for challenges, and he's there for Tribal Council. Right. So for seasons that hinge on those 2 moments will be more exciting for him in the moment than seasons that are heavy on social gaming, which he does not see until the edit is put together.
Right. Also, Mike Holloway's win would be even more exciting for Jeff because it's happening over a couple days rather than over the course of episodes, which are separated by a week between every time. So we saw it coming for 5 or 6 weeks because it was happening over 5 episodes. Yeah. But for him, it was
it shouldn't have happened. It wasn't obvious to any of them. It wasn't going to happen.
Because he wasn't seeing Mike getting this hero edit. He was seeing him have his back against the wall and managing to win. So I think the thing is, that, and so honestly, as much as I'm sure Jeff does have his sort of like male bias, is it's not.
Yeah, I'm not going to say he doesn't. That's
He
Right.
definitely does.
But I think part of it is like if he's praising things like Mike and Ben, like as we've established, men find the bulk of immunity idols, and often, not always, but men might be more likely to be the big physical player. But Mike also found immunity idols, so you had that too. But so that's going to naturally be then who he's excited about, because it's like this self-confirming bias.
Yeah, it's important to note that Jeff Probst does not dislike immunity challenges and idols the same way that people on the internet do. I think he actually approves of both of those things. Obviously, he really approves of those things, but more also, they wouldn't exist in the way that they do if it was a problem for the person who runs the show. But yeah, moreover, I think there's some people who feel attacked. I want to make sure this is like what a lot of people do. A lot of people do that, and I just want to point out, you were 100% wrong. This season was won by a male David, so all of the
won the last 3 challenges.
Yeah, so if that's what your whole thing is like, oh no, I bet Kara wins because of Jeff. And I also wonder, like, to Emma's point, where I haven't really noticed enthusiasm being up or down. I also wonder if it's who's coverage you're reading, right? Like maybe a Josh Wigler's coverage is a little bit more balanced and less, prone to just superlatives, because Josh is talking to him for like 20 minutes. Whereas if you're just catching like, more generic repeating, then you're just getting Jeff Probst giving you sound bites, because that's all they're getting. So it might just feel like
Dalton.
Yeah. So maybe it just feels like he's not as enthusiastic in the past because he can be more measured with somebody like Josh Wigler, who has so many pages to give him. But yeah, it's just it's not a fun discussion for me. I'm not interested in it at all, because it was wrong for one thing. So that's another thing. But also, that wasn't the only reason why people were predicting Kara. And obviously, we all predicted her. I think there were reasons to believe that she could win just based on the season. But the other fun one was that everybody thought it had to be Kara because Alec was disinvited to the reunion and she wasn't. And I got to say, Emma, if you ever blog again, you need to put together a list of all the dumb things that people assumed would happen on a season of Survivor because of all their insider knowledge, because they're on Reddit and Twitter.
That sounds like
up there.
And if I could just say again, Alec got disinvited because, sure, maybe it was because Kara was in the finale.
Yeah, that's enough.
But first of all, that's enough. And also, again, Alec is the one who posted it. Kara didn't. Yep. I don't know if you guys have ever used Instagram before. General audience, not you guys, because I know half of you haven't. But you don't necessarily be like, "Hey, I'm going to post this picture. Are you okay with breaking the NDA?" We have no knowledge of how complicit she was in that.
Yeah.
So
at least I don't. Maybe some people do, but I do not.
My advice would be maybe stop basing all of your predictions on things outside of the show that you think that because it's not been a good look for a while. Or, keep doing it because it's fun for me to keep seeing you guys fall your faces.
Well, instead of discussing the opinions of Jeff Probst about this show, let's talk about the only opinions about seasons that actually matter, ours.
Oh, okay. Thanks for throwing this to me, John, since I'm the one that matters, right?
A rough ranking. Now, I'm not telling you to slot it in somewhere on our rankings list, but Matt, tell me where it lands for you roughly. What tier is this in?
So I guess it would be in my second tier. So tier 1's like the unimpeachably great seasons, like my top 5 or 6, the ones that it's you have to be amazing to get in there. The heroes versus villains, the Kagayans, the Pearl Islands, the ones that I just don't, I don't think can be challenged. So but this is in that nice tier behind it. It's back half of the top 10, maybe, early teens, somewhere in there.
Emma, what about you?
Yeah, I would say, definitely top half, maybe top third, which would put it, I think, at roughly what Matt is saying. I have, in terms of top third, I have a rough time with, So people always talk about recency bias and with the people saying like best season ever. I feel like I have the kind of almost the reverse of that where, like because there's these classic seasons that we have held in such esteem, I've had it being like, I think I'm even lower on Kagayan because of this, because at one point that was the new season of being like, well, it can't be better than this because that was so like seminal to Survivor history.
Andy and I went through that big with Kagayan when it was happening.
Yeah. And then I moved my Kagayan rating up because after some time passed, because like, no, wait, that was better than I remember it.
Right. Like, so it's tough, I think, to say so soon after because I might be rating it lower or whatever. But I would say, definitely, gosh, how many seasons are there even now? Math. Definitely in the
7.
I would say definitely in the teens. I don't think I would put it at top 10 personally, but I'm not sure. I'd have to like really look at it. But I would think definitely in the teens, maybe in the upper teens or like the 11 or the tweens.
How about yourself, John?
I'm probably in that 10 to 13-ish range. I'll have to look at my list and see what's already on that or those spots. But yeah, I mean, it was a good season. Great, like breath of fresh air after some relatively mediocre to terrible seasons the past few. It's hard to crack into that top 10. It's not even a knock about this season. It's just like the quality.
There's a lot of seasons now.
Yeah. I mean, if you talk about the top 10 seasons of the show, like there's some really fucking great seasons of this show. Like you're competing against, just off the top of my head, like China. That was an amazing cast and a great season. Tocantins, Pearl Islands. Like there's a bunch of seasons that it's just, they have to be in the top 10 for me. And it's really, really hard to crack into that.
Yeah, even beyond rankings, my overall impression of the season is that it was just a great reminder of the durability and of this show and how it can bounce back. And it's really, there's no point in really trying to throw dirt on this show. All it takes is the right people. And I think that was more than anything the problem with the past few seasons. And, we spent many seasons of most of the fandom, because they were legitimately and dissatisfied with the seasons, lobbing all of these different things. This is the problem. This is the problem. The editors are the problem. The twists are the problem. And, some of that maybe a little bit, sure. But more than anything, it was like the people. The people weren't doing what they need to do because we've seen in the past that a good cast can overcome anything. A good cast can overcome the outcast twist. The good cast can overcome silly David versus Goliath stuff. It's about the people. And, say, well, then the problem was casting. But it wasn't even necessarily fully that in some of the seasons we just saw. It was the wrong portions of the cast succeeding that was the problem. Now, this season, I think, was refreshing in that I can't put together a group that would have dominated the season and ruined it. There is just not that concentration of players that wouldn't have been good, I don't believe. There's some that, we could take or leave. We don't know anything about Pat, whatever, about Jessica. But I don't think, we could have gotten a situation like we got in Game Changers where, the 5 sucky people were able to unite to form a Voltron of suck, right? So I don't think that it was that. So kudos to the casting for that. But everybody now is like, I can't believe they fired the person who put together this cast. It's also the person who put together the 3 casts before that. And it's just why casting is just, it's fluky, man. You try, and sometimes you get magic like this season. As for ranking, I'm right there. I can't see this cracking my top 10 at all. I enjoy it. I think I think upper third is probably right. But what was missing for me all season, and what I truly value in Survivor, more than even most, is superlatives. And I don't feel like this season had superlatives. It just had a lot of very goods. In the words of Mike White, the damning words of Mike White, it was a B+. A very enjoyable B+, especially in comparison to a lot. But, other than, I think, the, minority split, I don't know how much of this, other than I really enjoyed that, I enjoyed the people, are we going to be talking about for years to come. So, and, if we're talking top 10, top 12, top 15, that keeps it under the top 10 for me. Yeah,
and I think the thing is you'll see the legacy of this season will be the players that will come back from it, because I think this is probably one of the seasons like Cagayan.
Well, but I think that's the legacy of China. That's a season I compare this to. China had a bunch of people come back from it. Do you remember like a lot of the moves from China? The one I remember is blindsiding James with 2 idols. Right. I would say the John move is a better move than that.
Of course. Yeah, but the thing is, like you said, I mean, it's like a China cast where you've got probably 4 to 5 people that were just standouts that will definitely come back, and you'll more fondly remember this season because those people were part of it.
Yes.
Already, I have to say something that you don't get to hear very much. I was wrong about something. There is definitely one superlative from this season, and that is Angelina.
I was going to say, I was going to call you on that, but...
No, you should have, but luckily I was able to self-correct there.
Well, but if I called you that, I wouldn't have gotten to hear you apologize, so I'm glad this happened this way.
Well, the thing is, Angelina is so good that even regressive father Jeff Probst acknowledged in an interview that, like, if he could bring one person back from this season, which is bullshit because he will bring back multiples, it would be her. Or even over Christian, who he loves. Yep. So, he recognizes greatness.
Yeah, and that makes sense also. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I think he knows, like, as fun as Christian was, they will always be able to find a Christian to play Survivor.
Exactly.
They're, like, he is part... What archetype, like, who else has been like Angelina?
Yeah. Angelina is singular.
A while.
Christian, it was just one of the best forms of something we've gotten before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and actually you're going to see that form back the next season.
Yeah. Well, can I ask you, John and Andy, a question, since we're talking about, what we think, big thoughts here? What do you think of this rotating podcast host?
I like the fact that I did not have to stay up late and then also edit a podcast every week. So A+ to that particular aspect of it. The downside, of course, was that this was actually a good season that was fun to talk about. So of all the seasons to start this, kind of unfortunate that we picked this one.
Yeah, but we had to. If we picked it for next season, you guys would have been like, no, I'm good. Yeah, I think people would be like, "Oh, I bet Andy's like gonna say I didn't get to talk. Oh, it was so hard." No, it wasn't. I was more than happy to not do this every week, and I think it might have helped increase my enjoyment of the season. Not always having to have a take. Obviously, there was some weeks where it's like, I have a take. Why can't I be on the podcast? One in particular, but honestly, even the week before that, where I was supposed to be on, I believe. For the most part. Yeah, for the most part, yeah, it was nice having a break, and frankly, it almost has the reverse effect on me in that I'm like, if I didn't miss it, maybe I wouldn't miss it at all. I think I should just go, but that's not on the cards. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed hearing other perspectives. Did that sound genuine, or was that Angelina like?
That was a bit of a stretch. You know what's fun though is that as you were talking about how you had a take and you really missed an episode you wanted to discuss it on, I was watching Matt and Emma making the faces that I was also making, except they can't see me making the faces because my camera's not on.
Can't imagine what that face was.
I'm tweeting you with looks.
Yeah. What about you guys? Did you enjoy having a bigger role on the podcast?
Yeah. No, I mean, I did, especially because I kind of gave up the live blog this season, which after getting the puppy, that would have been impossible. He demands way too much attention during an episode. But no, it was good to get a chance somewhere to give some of my thoughts. And I like the fact that not being on every week, you're not repeating the same points that you would have repeated the previous week. You get to come back after, you usually have a little bit of break in between, and you usually get to make some new points.
Yeah, it was nice not having to feel guilty all the time of not doing blogs anymore. And while I'm glad I'm not doing this every week, I don't know how you guys did that. This is also takes so much less time than writing those blogs do. I don't think you guys really appreciated how much research went into those lists.
We have some idea because you'd often just throw it to us often.
Yeah.
Hey, how about this, guys? So give me ideas.
So also,
I know you did more.
the audience. But like it took a lot of work, and then you do a list and they'd be like, wait, what about this week I got a correction on one that was a year ago because I didn't remember Bob's second fake idol. Who gives a fuck?
Well, I'll let you in on a secret. People also try to correct when you podcast.
True.
There's a low success rate on that.
But it's different. The podcasting I can kind of forgive because podcast you're talking and it's kind of stream of consciousness, and you know I feel like more likely to mess up than when you spend 6 hours on Survivor Wiki and like not doing other things and trying to figure something out.
See, and I can finally relate again because this season has inspired me. I've actually started writing a post. I don't even know when the hell I can put it up because it's like freaking Christmas and New Year's coming up. So we'll have like 10 people reading the site. But at some point soon, I will put up a post specifically about this season because there's actually something to write about. And I have a little bit of time. I can do it. But damn, it reminds me of how much time it takes when I used to do like GIFs and blogs and all this other stuff in there. Like, shit. Takes way too much time. Why can't I just bullshit about this show for a little while and then be done?
Yeah,
Thank God we have Brad.
Yeah, I feel like you could post that during Christmas. I think there might be some people out there that like to take micro breaks from the people that are being forced to be around. And also, there's not a lot of competition for that content. So please feel free. I might be refreshing every once in a while.
Except for at my job, when we have to still have something twice a day, even on Christmas Day. No one's looking for wedding advice on Christmas.
It's all about how they married Santa Claus and something kissed him.
Right.
Other thing I'll say,
isn't that during the winter? You know, were they looking for wedding advice in Frozen? I don't know.
No.
What am I talking about?
Don't get me started on a Frozen rant.
Really, seriously, don't.
Frozen took place in summer. That's why it being freezing was a problem.
I'm sorry I didn't watch it. Let's move on, okay?
Yeah, could you imagine somebody who spends a lot of their time like on comment boards just talking about things they haven't seen? That'd be infuriating.
That would be, which is why I apologize.
But yeah, to echo Matt's thoughts, I actually not just the break of like having some nights off, and when you guys are saying about writing, I'm usually the person who writes the breakdown, so that is work as well. I did like not having to repeat myself. Now, interestingly, I'm not sure this is the season I would have been repeating myself a lot, but I think we all can think of past seasons where I just kept hammering the same cudgel over and over again. That isn't as much fun for me as you might think it is. So, I think it all worked out, but I am interested in hearing other people's opinions and what they thought of this podcast. We've gotten some. Largely, it's been positive that people like the different perspectives, which I think, is probably an accurate reflection of their feelings, and also that people in our community, at least, don't typically get on and be like, I hate hearing this person talk. Why would you put them on the podcast? But, I was a little concerned I don't know if I'd be interested in listening to a podcast where I don't know who's going to be whose opinions I'm going to be sharing week to week. But I do think we have similar but different voices, so at least it feels on brand. But I think it's giving people stuff. So if you have those thoughts, please share them.
Yeah. I guess
the best part is now one of our iTunes reviews will be accurate, because I think there's one that's like, oh, it seems fun, but they have a lot of rotating hosts. But it was back when it was like just John and Andy, and like maybe Matt or I would like sub every now and then. So it's always like, what are they talking about? Yeah. Do they think we're the tribe? I don't know.
That'd be very insulting if they did. I think the only thing we haven't covered, honestly, is does anyone have any thoughts about the actual reunion, which they have shortened to a brisk 30 minutes, which is my favorite thing they've done with the Survivor finales.
I do like the shorter because it also gives more time for the finale. And like people will talk about like, oh, the reunion is so short, but it's like, but it's more Survivor. And isn't that what we're really here for?
Especially since now there's 6 people in the finales.
Yeah. I think this was a pretty solid reunion. There weren't any like weird gimmicks. They still do the thing where they talk to like some kid, and I'm like, are they really? I mean, the previous. Well, actually, I mean, Lendl and Dup, like, are they really always guessing the winner? Or do they slip them another piece of paper later? Because, last season that really could have gone either way because
I think you're getting a little edgy here.
Her conspiracy theories. What happened?
No,
is
not
that
not in
was
terms
on
of like
THC.
the edge. Like I think, are they not wanting to make a child look disappointed and stupid?
I hope
Not
not,
about, like,
because that's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I mean, no, they obviously want to make a kid look stupid. They would do that all the time.
Oh yeah, people love to punk kids.
Yeah.
I missed
talking about how much of a family show it is, which I was trying to be like, I feel like you don't want me to watch it, Jess.
I mean, you're allowed to also watch things that children are allowed to watch. Like I know there's like this book about boy wizards that people enjoy, even of all ages.
That I started reading when I was 9.
Nah, well, I mean, it is.
You started reading The Magicians when you were 9?
Honestly, that wasn't even that funny. We were just going along here. I did miss the Humanitarian of the Season award. I think that was a bit unfortunate. But hey, they talked to a lot of people, so people who care about that should have felt somewhat happy about it. I am not one of those people. What do we think about...
Hold on. I just had a very important thought, and I have to voice this. Do you think that Angelina kept mentioning that she was a vegetarian in the hopes that she would get Sia money?
God, I hope so.
I mean, why would
Maybe
you
because
not?
Mike was too, and he only mentioned it like that one time.
Right,
because Mike ain't getting Sia money. I think they hang out.
He ain't getting Sia money.
Yeah, she'd like buy him his next dinner. That's about it.
Wouldn't it be amazing if she just like kept bringing it up and like she was doing it all the time in the hopes that like Sia would give her money?
All right, Rob, when you do your exit interview when you do your long form exit interview with Angelina, Rob, you have to ask her that. And of course, Rob listens to us, so that's going to be a thing.
Why wouldn't he?
Because this is really long.
Yes,
Rob has a problem with long podcasts.
That's a fair point.
One more quick point about the reunion, though, is I was so glad that we got the very crucial question of, are Gabby and Christian still friends, answered. Oh my God. If there was one thing that I wanted to talk to Gabby about, it was, hey, are you and Christian still friends?
Honestly, I gotta say, what else were they gonna talk to Gabby about? Like,
I don't think they should have bothered.
Well, okay, I feel like a lot of this is just about people's like hand wringing about this personally, at least, is because they're like a boy girlfriend group. Like if when you had things like JT and Steven or even Dom and One, granted they made it farther, but like when there's pairs, they often are like, oh yeah, you guys had a cool friendship. What was that like? And like the other option with Gabby was, you sure cried a lot, didn't you?
I'm kind of surprised that wasn't the follow-up.
Yeah, and at least he didn't pull like what he did with Hannah. He didn't say like, "Oh, were you jealous when his girlfriend Emily came out there?" or anything like that. So
I don't think that's what they pulled with Hannah. Wasn't with Hannah. How great does it feel that you have finally hit the level that you could fuck Ken? Wasn't that what they did with Hannah?
No. That you.
I meant generically that they were like talking about
fucking Ken. It wasn't even that you could; it was that you could think about it.
Right.
No, I thought it was truly that like. That, Ken is this sexy object that you now have obtained a level to maybe be able to get due to your glow up.
I don't think that was what it was, but also I just meant generically, like relating it to men in a romantic sense and not a platonic sense. But go off, I guess.
Hey, it's baby steps, it's still, relating to her as a man. But I think your point also is like, there wasn't really a Gabby story that needed to be finished.
And she was still a big character, so I get why they wanted to talk to her.
Yeah. I actually liked during the final tribal where it seemed like Gabby was like ready. She was armed and prepared to be like, hey, Mike, you thought you're such a social player, but you didn't have a relationship with me. But he headed off at the pass. It's like, yeah, I had to get you out because we didn't have much of a social relationship. So she's like, yeah, well, that's true. And congratulations on that one.
That was Mike's best answer at the
Although it was also his worst answer because he started with that, but then he was like, so you weren't like a threat. And I was like, you probably should have left that part out, man.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
That was pretty bad.
Mike needs to learn a lesson that apparently we need to learn tonight too, which is about knowing when to cut off our talking.
Look, if people want to spread this podcast out over weeks, go ahead. I'll say, who was she? Do you think she was torn about voting for between Nick? What do you think? Do you think she was thinking about voting for Angelina? 'Cause I kind of felt like it.
No, you weren't here for that.
This is when you dropped off. We actually covered that part.
All right. Well, I'll listen to it later. All right.
No, you won't. You weren't on that part. You won't listen.
It's hard to fast forward. You know, I sometimes hear commercials for mattresses and stuff too because I'm doing other things. So I'm sure I will hear it. Also, you'll be talking about me during that time, so of course I will be listening. Do we need to talk about next season yet?
We would, but it's like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Can we just
and also,
be done?
Yeah, the gimmick.
It's not.
The one note is they haven't actually said what the gimmick is yet, so neither will we. All right, let's finish this thing off. Usually I do by thanking like the many valuable commenters who make our site the great place it is. I ain't doing that anymore because
you all.
Yeah, I mean, it's 1,000 times like it's 6 a.m. for people, so why could I? And also, I used to be able to like print a list of people who commented more frequently. We can't do that anymore, so I would just forget 10 people and they'd be insulted. But thank you all for listening. Thank you to Brad and Mark for the other things they do on this site, and that site is
purplerockpodcast.com. Thank you to everybody that Andy just mentioned, except Saturday Night Palsy. Fuck that guy.
Thank you.
You can follow the show on Twitter at Purple Rock Pod. You can follow me at Purple Rock Andy.
I'm Purple
You
Rock
can follow
Matt.
me. I'm Purple Rock Emma.
And I'm at Rob Sesternino.
There you go. For the off season, I don't. John apparently has an article that he might publish, or it'll just sit in drafts like the other ones he started working on in different seasons. We don't really have many other plans. Matt and I, we might do something.
Yeah. Andy, why don't you tell them what we're going to do? Because I'm tired and you're more awake than I am.
I really hope this is about porn.
Really quick.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be all about Tumblr, man. It's going to be all about the dead Tumblr. That's what it's about.
For like the 15 of you who care, we're going to resurrect the Infinity Stone podcast for a short little run. We haven't fully decided whether we're going to do the big plan we have or lazily down to maybe 2 episodes or something. But, if
the first one back will probably be about Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes. So watch it and get back to us. If you were a fan of that podcast and you haven't subscribed, you should subscribe through YouTube or follow us on Twitter with the really horrible Twitter handle. What is it? pod_infinity.
Yeah, something like that.
The worst. Or subscribe on iTunes or whatever.
We're good at plugging it.
Yeah, well, it's been a while. I've been dedicated to Survivor. All right, so that's the season, man.
Hit some theme music, please, for the love of God.